You know that feeling when you finally decide to upgrade your lighting gear, only to get a cheap LED panel that flickers on you during a live stream, or dies a few weeks later because the battery just can't keep up? I've been there, and it's why I always stress test a light before I even think about putting it on a set. The temptation to save a few bucks on a budget unit is real, but the regret that follows can ruin a whole shoot. That's why I took a closer look at the Aputure LS600D Lightstorm before recommending it. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the biggest hesitation I had was the sheer size and power of this thing. At 600 watts, it's not a little plug-and-play panel you can toss on a desk. It's a full-size, VOUT-compatible light that promises cinema-grade output. The question on everyone's mind is whether that massive output translates into a better daily workflow or just more bulk to lug around. In my case, I'm shooting a mix of short-form YouTube tutorials, indie narrative scenes, and occasional portrait sessions. All of those require consistent, high-quality lighting, but they also demand a light that won't turn the studio into a logistics nightmare. So, who should actually consider the LS600D? If you're a serious content creator, think filmmakers, corporate videographers, or portrait photographers who already have a sturdy lighting rig and need a reliable, high CRI source that can replace a tungsten kit, this is a solid contender. The 96 CRI and 96 TLCI numbers mean the colors you capture stay true to life, which is a huge win for skin tones and product shots. The fact that the control box is completely silent also matters a lot for on-set audio. No strange hum sneaking into your dialogue tracks. On the flip side, if you're just starting out on a shoestring budget, or you mainly need a light for occasional live streams, you'll probably find the LS600D overkill. It requires a VOUT battery or a dedicated power source, and that adds both cost and weight to your kit. For a hobbyist who is happy with a 30-watt LED ring light, this is a purchase you'll regret because the extra power isn't being fully utilized. Let's talk about real-world setup. I mounted the LS600D on a standard steel light stand with a VOUT battery pack from a previous project. The battery was a 140Wh pack, which comfortably ran the light at 85% for about 45 minutes of continuous shooting. That's enough for a typical day of shooting multiple scenes without needing to swap batteries. The control box, which sits right on the light, offers 3 methods of adjustment: a physical dial for smooth dimming, a Bluetooth app for precise values, and a built-in DMX interface for integration with larger rigs. The silent control box eliminates the dreaded click-click you hear on cheaper units when you change intensity, which is a subtle but important detail when you're recording dialogue. One practical strength I observed is how quickly the LS600D reaches full output. Some LEDs have a noticeable warm-up period. This one snaps to the set intensity within a second, which is crucial when you're rushing between setups. The color temperature is locked at 5600K, which aligns perfectly with daylight and many studio setups. For portrait work, I paired the LS600D with a softbox and a diffusion grid. The result was a soft, even fall-off that wrapped around the subject's face without the harsh edge you sometimes get from smaller panels. The high CRI meant I didn't have to spend extra time in post-correcting skin tones. The footage looked natural straight out of the camera. A hidden trade-off is the heat management. At full power, the LS600D does get hot, but Aputure has equipped it with an efficient heatsink and an active cooling fan that runs quietly. In my testing, the fan was audible only when I was sitting right next to the light, which is fine for most set scenarios but worth noting if you're planning to shoot in a perfectly silent environment, like a music video with a live orchestra. You can mitigate the heat by using a lower power setting or by adding a small external fan for extra airflow, something that's not uncommon in pro rigs. Another real-world consideration is the portability factor. The LS600D is heavier than a standard LED panel, roughly 8 pounds without the battery. Adding the VOUT pack pushes you past 12 pounds. That's not a problem if you have a dedicated lighting cart or a crew that can handle the load, but for solo creators who travel light, it becomes a logistical challenge. I found that breaking the rig down into separate components, light head, control box, battery, helps with packing, but you still need a decent bag and a way to secure each piece. Now let's talk about value beyond the headline specs. The lux output you see in the spec sheet is impressive, But the true benefit is the flexibility you gain when you can dial the light down to 10% without color shift. That gives you a smooth gradient from a strong key.